as a parent, you sort of have to be vulnerable. So if I was having an off day, like I'd be honest with the kids and say, you know what, I'm not feeling that great today. I know you guys have days when you feel off and I'm not feeling off too. And people really respect people being vulnerable. I think it will be a challenge sort of moving forward to try not to fracture your friendship relationship and make sure that your friendship and your business relationship are booming at the same time, which is hard to do. The suicide rates are through the roof and they're pretty alarming. I had everything going for him, but was unfortunately struggling with his own internal demons that got the better of him. Being stereotypical male, didn't want to tell his mates how he was honestly feeling and felt like he was always a burden for having negative feelings. We had no idea that he was struggling.
Don't Be Caught Dead, the show bringing stories of death back to life. Here's your host, Catherine Ashton.
So today we are speaking with Ben. Ben is part of a trio and his offsiders are Nathan and Mason. They're qualified teachers, but in 2021 they did something that not many mates do. They started Speak and Share, a charity whose vision is to become one of Australia's most impactful mental health advocacy organisations that creates everlasting change in our community. Thank you for being with us today, Ben.
No, thank you for having me, Catherine. It's a pleasure to be here. Been a long listener of the Don't Be Caught Dead podcast, so it's good to be here, good to jump on, and I'm keen to get stuck into the chat.
No problems. It is a bit of a mouthful, so thanks for...
It's a bit of a tongue twister, isn't it?
Thanks for being a fan. Now, what motivated you to create Speak and Share?
Yeah, there's probably a few aspects. So myself and then my business partners, Mace and Nathan, sort of went through our own mental health battles during 2020. So we were lucky enough to get up to Darwin during the COVID lockdown. And during that time period, we sort of all went through our own experiences. So unfortunately lost a mate to suicide. Nate's parents split up, and then Mace lost a loved one to a workplace accident. So 3 pretty traumatic experiences that we all went through independently. And being stereotypical males, didn't communicate about how that was affecting us and turned to some unhealthy behaviours during the rest of our trip to Darwin. And then I think we came home in January 21 and sort of all got together and saw how the community was struggling during the COVID lockdown, and the kids we were teaching, they were struggling. So wanted to get into the mental health space, didn't really know what it was going to look like, created an Instagram platform and saw what the Inspired Unemployed boys were doing. If you know them, they're sort of content creators and create some funny videos. So we created a few skit videos that made people laugh, that had a positive mental health message on the end, and they got a lot of traction. And then we had the idea of sort of getting some merchandise and apparel to sort of spread our message, and that really got some traction, more than we thought it was going to get. And it's really grown from there. 3 years down the track, we're now a registered charity, a medium-sized charity that runs programs in schools, sporting clubs and workplaces, and runs community events, and just all about sort of normalising the conversation and providing the community an opportunity to connect and talk about the topic of mental health.
Wow. And tell me, you mentioned unhealthy behaviours. So what sort of things were, or what was the catalyst that went, okay, this is enough? Was there one bad experience, or you just, had a big boys trip away and just went, look, we can't keep doing this?
Yeah, probably for me, I'm a pretty physically active person. So I went from being physically active and playing footy to sort of not wanting to play footy, not moving my body like I usually would, was eating pretty unhealthily, was drinking a fair bit, and was struggling to sleep and sort of do the things I love. And I know Nathan Mace were the same. So sort of got to a stage where I wasn't happy with the person that I was. I wasn't talking to family and friends about how I was honestly feeling. And it was only until we went for a walk together once we came back from Darwin that we realised that we're all in the same boat and something needed to change.
How did that happen? How did that conversation come about?
Yeah, it was a bit of a tough one. I know Nath was really struggling with his parents separating. So we were sort of honest with him and said, we noticed that you've been struggling. Do you want to go for a walk? And on that walk, he sort of opened up about what he'd been through and how he was feeling about it. And then myself and Mace did too. And it was just good to sort of have a sounding board where we could honestly express how we were feeling and, the experiences that we'd been through and how they were affecting us. So it was, really nice to sort of be on that walk. And it was definitely a turning point in us, receiving the help that we needed and realising that there sort of is support out there, and your mates are more than happy to listen to the issues that you're going through.
And do you mind me asking, did you seek formal support after that conversation?
Oh, I didn't. No, I've never seen a psychologist. I definitely need to, which has come up in recent discussions with sort of business mentors and stuff, because I've had a bit of grief through losing Josh, and then I've had a couple of other things in my life that I definitely need to sort of, talk about a bit more. I know Nate saw a psychologist once his parents split up, and Mace has never seen a psych because he's usually a pretty up and about individual and he's really good at expressing his emotions. But no, I didn't see a psych after Josh passed, but I have a lovely family. Mum and dad are awesome and I have a great support network around me who are incredibly helpful. But yeah, definitely need to sort of get into that professional help space.
And Josh was the name of your friend that died?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, he was from the Mornington Peninsula. So the three of us are born and bred from the peninsula. He was 24 at the time, 25, I think. Was a business owner. So he was a carpenter, was a really good footballer, good sportsman, was a good looking fella, had everything going for him, but was unfortunately struggling with his own sort of internal demons that, yeah, got the better of him. And he felt like he couldn't speak and share. Being stereotypical male, didn't want to, tell his mates how he was honestly feeling and felt like he was always a burden on our friendship group for having negative feelings. So yeah, he had an episode, it would have been, I think it was 10 or 11 months before he flew up to Darwin where he tried to take his life. And I was lucky enough to sort of intervene and stop him from doing so. But before that, we had no idea that he was struggling. He was always usually the happy person in the friendship group that was cracking the jokes at the footy club and mucking around and having a good time. And yeah, it wasn't until he sort of had that cry for help that we realised that he was struggling and that he needed sort of professional help. But when that happened, it was almost too late. He sort of went on to antidepressants and all that sort of medication, and it was almost a downward spiral from that sort of cry for help instance. And then it was only about 10 or 11 months until he ended up taking his life. But that's sort of why I created Speak and Share, is to get these conversations going and get males and females talking about their mental health before it is an issue and before people are suicidal and all that sort of thing.
And so what do you recommend to teenagers or even young adults in their 20s or 30s? What do you recommend in relation to starting those conversations and speaking and sharing?
Yeah, it's probably a few things. I think the first one is being honest. So you've got to be honest with your mates. If you notice that they are struggling, be honest with them and say, Catherine, I realise that you haven't been doing the things you love or you seem like you're a bit upset. So honesty is the first one. And then the second one's, when you sort of start these conversations, is get them in an environment that they feel comfortable. So don't sit down with them face to face and sort of grill them face to face. But if you like going out in the outdoors or you like arts and craft or going to the movies, get them in an environment that they feel comfortable, whether it's going for a drive or going to the beach or going for a walk. Get them in that environment where they are comfortable, and then definitely hit them with the honesty question and be honest with them, because you don't want to not ask the question before it's too late, which is probably the one regret that I've got with Josh.
And do you suggest it being on a one-on-one basis, or was it the three of you that sat down with Josh?
Yeah, it depends on the person. I'd probably ask the person first, like, would you prefer that I come with you, or do you want, a group of mates of us to come? It depends on the person, and ask them what they would prefer. And you'd hope that, being a good mate, that they'd say, I'd prefer that you just came, or I'd prefer that, all the boys just came. But usually when I got up with Josh, it was just one-on-one. He was pretty happy with that. We'd get fish and chips. I go for a walk and get outside where we're not sort of sitting down at a coffee table face to face, making direct eye contact. And you can, look at the trees or look up in the air and get those honest conversations going.
It's kind of like, and I have used reference a bit when I've been speaking to people, but it's kind of like as a parent, when you have that sex conversation, with your child, you just don't make it intense. You do it in the car or, somewhere where, like you were saying, people are comfortable and they can open up without the intense eye contact.
Yeah, 100%. You want them to be comfortable. Like, you don't want it to be like they're sitting in a psychology ward with a psychologist in this white room sitting face to face. Like, you want them in an environment where they do feel comfortable and they can, express themselves in an honest way.
Yeah. And tell me, so it went from this obviously very raw personal experience for each of you to then thinking, okay, well, how else can we support people? So talk me through that process, because then to become a charity, not everyone does that.
No, yeah, it's definitely grown a lot quicker than we initially expected, which has been awesome, overwhelming. But I think it just shows the need for what we're doing. So I remember we sold our first hoodie drop. So our office used to be mum and dad's kitchen table, and we had about 350 hoodies dropped off to mum and dad's house. And mum said, there's no way that you're going to sell these. No one's going to buy these. And I think we sold them out it was less than 5 minutes. So that was good. And we're lucky enough that an individual called Sam bought a hoodie, and his mum, Rebecca Wilmot, who's now on our board, sort of questioned Sam and said, what's this Speak and Share stuff like? What's it all about? And then she reached out to us and said, well, what's your ideas? I'd love to catch up with you and see what you're thinking with Speak and Share. And we did. had no idea what we wanted to do with Speak and Share. And since we caught up with her, being school teachers, we always knew that we wanted to get into the school space. But that initial catch up with Beck sort of helped us, brainstorm ideas and spaces and aspects that we wanted to get Speak and Share into, and has really helped mold Speak and Share into what it is today.
And can I take you a step back?
Yeah.
Hoodies. Where did that come from?
Yeah, the three of us like our clothing, like to have a bit of swagger and probably spend too much money on clothes. But it was just a great way initially to get some cash into the business. Obviously, being in Melbourne, everyone always needs a hoodie because it's always freezing outside. So we thought the hoodie would be sort of the staple product, and having the big Speak and Share logo on the front definitely gets the conversations going. Like if you see it out in public, if I'm wearing Speak and Share and someone else is wearing Speak and Share, you'll give them a wave. But there's a lot of people that haven't seen it before that might see a hoodie and they'll go up to the person and say, "What's this Speak and Share stuff?" which gets a conversation going. So it's pretty much just like a walking billboard, which is awesome.
And tell me about the design.
Yeah, the design. Yeah, so we have a graphic designer called Billy. She's a local girl too. She's awesome. So she's been with us from the start. So we try and change each hoodie design. So we do them in drops. So we hoping to do this year, it's roughly about one every month. So we'll dedicate a garment, so whether it's a hoodie, a t-shirt or a hat, to someone in their story. So someone will jump on our Instagram platform and share their story and what they've been through. And on the back of that, they'll choose a charity alongside Speak and Share that they want to support. And we usually donate between $5 to $10 to another charity. And it just, kids relate to and adults relate to sort of the story and the garment and the storytelling behind it, which is really special.
And I've seen the sunflower used or daisy used.
Yeah, so the sunflower is our logo. So for us, it just represents strength and perseverance. So sunflowers are amazing plants, amazing flowers. They can obviously last the heat during summer, and then they survive during winter too. And usually when you see them, they are growing out in fields together in hundreds or thousands. And I guess that's what we're trying to build at Speak and Share, sort of a community that wants to come together, help each other sort of grow towards the sun and work towards each other and lean on each other during those hard times.
And even the way, I'm going to go back into my botanical background now, even
You
the
probably
way
know
in which
you probably know more about the sunflower than I do.
No, just I'm thinking about when you like have sunflowers and they've grown and you're getting the seeds out, all the seeds group together and they support each other in the flower. And
Yeah.
so it's a beautiful thing that you've chosen the sunflower, because in so many elements it represents support and little individuals making up a bigger, beautiful picture.
For sure. And I think when you always see them, they always look like happy flowers. Like they never look like they're sad. And that's what we're trying to create and Speak and Share is just, people that want to talk to others about their mental health and hopefully grow towards the sun.
Oh, that's really lovely. And the
Yeah.
fact that it actually radiates towards the sun.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, which is what we're trying to grow is people that want to, get the best out of themselves and Speak and Share and hopefully, grow towards the sun and start blooming.
That's really beautiful. Tell me, you do this as a side venture and you're all teachers at the same time. What do you teach?
Yeah, so I didn't actually teach at all. I did a bit of casual relief teaching while we're trying to get Speak and Share going. I studied exercise, science, and teaching at ACU. So I was a PE teacher. So just mucked around playing dodgeball with the kids pretty much and going on outdoor ed camps. Nath was the same, but he's primary and sec. And then Mace is still working at a primary school purely because he loves the school he's at, but he's teaching PE at the moment. So we're all pretty three cruisy individuals that like getting outside and playing sport with the kids.
Yeah, so you would have really noticed that change in your personality and how you were feeling that you weren't being active.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm a very active person, love to run and go to the gym and move my body. And growing up was playing footy and we're lucky enough to play some footy up in the NT with the Tiwi Bombers. And after Josh passed, I didn't really want to do any of that. Didn't want to go to the gym, didn't want to run, was eating unhealthy foods, fatty foods, was going out, drinking a fair bit. So when I sort of, was reflecting during that moment, was realizing that I wasn't looking after my health and something needed to make a change.
And what is your recommendation for parents when they start seeing perhaps a change in that behaviour of their children being very active to being quite sluggish, not really taking care of themselves, any behaviour that's out of the ordinary? What do you suggest?
Yeah, probably similar to what I said before. So, getting your child in an environment where they feel comfortable. So taking for a walk if they like kicking the footy, taking down to the footy oval and being honest with them too. Like obviously your mum and dad usually know when something's off. So ask the question, what's been happening? You're off. You don't want to go to footy training. You don't want to go to netball training. You're not going to the gym every day with your mates, sort of what's been happening. And I think the other thing is just provide them an opportunity to sort of talk about what they want to talk about and try and flow the conversation into how they've been feeling mentally. And I think the important thing is you don't have to have the answers. Like, we're not psychologists. We don't have the answers to a lot of people's problems, but being there as a sounding board usually means a lot to the person that is struggling, and they can get things off their chest. And if they are struggling and you think they need professional help, then you can sort of, reach out to the services that you think they need to talk to.
Do you think there's an element of vulnerability that needs to be shown by someone who's trying to listen?
Yeah, for sure. 100%. Where you say vulnerability is infectious. So usually once one person shows their vulnerabilities, which is what we do during our programs, participants really respect that. And off the back of that, they'll share their own vulnerabilities. And I think as a parent too, you sort of have to be vulnerable and, tell your son or your daughter that I've been through similar things when I was younger. Like, I hated school, or I didn't want to go to footy training sometimes because I was anxious. Really break down the barriers and not portray that you're this individual that has never had mental health problems. And once you do sort of show your own vulnerabilities, your son or your daughter or whoever you're talking to will respect that and hopefully open up.
So you just to answer it from your perspective, but do you think that is the key to unlocking the issues that we're seeing nowadays with toxic masculinity and that behaviour that generation of parents now, it's their responsibility to really change that by showing their vulnerability?
Yeah, for sure, 100%. I think as a teacher too, like, I was always pretty vulnerable as a teacher. So if I was having an off day, like, I'd be honest with the kids and say, you know what, I'm not feeling that great today. I know you guys have days when you feel off, and I'm not feeling off too. And people really respect people being vulnerable. There's a lot of people that put a facade on like they're always flying and, they know the answer to everything. But if I didn't know an answer to a question as a teacher, I would tell the kids, like, I don't know what it is. Like, we're going to have to find it out together. And I think people really respect, people being vulnerable and really embrace it.
And you think if we actually, as a society, adopted that vulnerability, it would possibly reduce the likelihood of feeling like imposter syndrome when we're actually, going into different industries or different job roles, because perhaps we're giving ourselves an opportunity to be the real person and the real us. We move on to those roles.
Yeah, 100%. I watch a lot of footy, for example, and the footy clubs, AFL clubs that are doing really well at the moment are clubs where the players and employees embrace themselves and express themselves, and they don't come into work into the footy club and try and be people that they're not. So they wear whatever they want. If they want to paint their nails, they paint their nails. If they're struggling, they'll get up into front of the group and express, their vulnerabilities and what they've been through. So I think, yeah, workplaces and schools that and any sort of organisation that allows people to express themselves and, openly talk about how they're feeling are ones that are places and schools that people want to spend their time in.
Because you don't leave yourself at the gate, do you?
Exactly right, 100%. Yeah, so it's crucial. It can be hard to be vulnerable, but as I said before, if there's one person that can sort of set the tone, then you'll often find that the others will follow, and will find it a lot easier once that one person has set the tone for the group.
And as a teacher in the school environment, who do you suggest, the person who is feeling vulnerable reaches out to?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Obviously, most schools have their wellbeing team and their welfare team, which a lot of kids sort of struggle going to because they don't want other kids knowing that they're, seeing the wellbeing team or seeing the psychologist. I would suggest, choose that one teacher that you feel comfortable. Usually most kids have one teacher that they love talking to. That's a role model for me at school. It was my year 12 PE teacher. So option A would probably be obviously go to the wellbeing team and the welfare team. But if you don't feel comfortable going to them or don't want to have, the stigma associated with seeing them, then definitely choose the one teacher, whether it's male or female, that you feel comfortable in talking to about your personal life for sure. And then they'll refer you on to the help that you need if it needs to go further.
And tell me, running a charity,
Yeah.
why a charity? It's hard work.
Yeah, it's a lot more work than we initially thought. I'll tell you that. It's pretty full on. We just jumped from a small size charity to a medium sized charity earlier this year. But from the get go, we wanted to be transparent with where all the money was going. We never wanted to look like three guys that were trying to make an impact in the mental health space that were also trying to make money off it. So working in a charity, we'll have our own awards and standards in regards to what we get paid for. It also helps with sort of growing our message and spreading our message. So it helps with grants and people doing fundraisers. We now have our DGR status too, so people can donate and it can be tax deductible, which helps. And it sort of helps with, philanthropic money and all that sort of stuff, which you wouldn't get if you were just a normal business. So I think, transparency is the main one, and then helps us with fundraising and donations, which has been huge for us.
And do you engage a grant writer or to assist with that?
Yeah, so being a charity, we've got an advisory board. So we've got, I think there's 8 people on the board now, 6 to 8 people. They're all amazing business professionals that have been professionals in their field for years. So I've got one individual, Daryl, who's been with us pretty much from the get-go, who helps us write the grant applications and all the stuff for the philanthropic stuff. I'm not a great writer myself, so he's definitely helped us for sure. So yeah, we're really lucky to have the board members on our team, and they sort of provide us with, the professional tips that we need.
And how did you decide who you put on the board?
Yeah, it was a tough one. So Beck, as I said before, was the first lady that reached out, and then she sort of introduced us to 2 more people. So Ricky Johnson is one who we knew through Footy Connections, and then Daryl Houghton. So we had them for, I think, the first year and a half, and then we sort of reflected and realized that we needed people in the mental health space. We needed an accountant, we needed a lawyer, and then we had another connection who was just like sort of an entrepreneur background. So we added 4 more people to the start to the board this year, who have sort of come from different fields compared to Beck, Ricky, and Daryl, who have been awesome. And they've just been people that we get along with too. So we never wanted to bring on someone from the board that we haven't connected with personally and don't get along with personally. And the board that we have at the moment is a really good team.
Because it really is a relationship that you're actually having with a board member, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crucial. Yeah. And they're an advisory board. So they just advise us on what they think we should be doing, which is awesome because we've got all the ideas and sort of where we want Speak and Share to go and how we want to get there. And they sort of help us on, the logistics behind it and the laws behind it and all that sort of stuff. So we didn't study business at uni. Probably wish I did. I should probably go back and study business, but they help us with, the business direction, the strategy, budgets and all that sort of stuff, which, we didn't have too much idea about when we started Speak and Share.
And it sounds like you've surrounded yourself with people who have complementary skills on the board that can assist you with those steps.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So as I said before, we've got a lawyer, an accountant. Who else do we have? Daryl's a business consultant. Beck has worked in the youth field for years. Ricky used to work at the Brotherhood of St. Lawrence, but's been in the corporate world for years. And Damien Merchant has just become from an entrepreneur sort of background, has started a lot of his own businesses. So just, need a good mix of, business professionals and people from different fields.
And tell me, how has your relationship as the three of you changed during this sort of evolution of the business from a small charity to a medium charity and really where you first started out? And that was just three mates.
Yeah, it's had a massive shift. Like when we started Speak and Share, I think we would have been 21, 22. So a relatively immature, probably 3 best mates that, just loved going out and having fun and carrying on as young kids do. But yeah, the growth of Speak and Share and the rapid growth that it has had has definitely matured us as people, but it has been challenging. You walk up to work with your 2 best mates every day, and you've got a business that you've got to run, and we have to pay our own mortgages and stuff too. So it has been hard, sort of putting the friendship aside and putting your business hat on when you do come to work. And I think it will be a challenge, sort of moving forward too, is trying not to fracture your friendship relationship and make sure that your friendship and your business relationship are booming at the same time, which is hard to do. And speak to a lot of people that have started businesses with their friends, and some are still blooming, some have fractured their relationships purely from going into a business together. But the three of us have a great relationship, respect each other a lot, and are pretty good at sort of being honest with each other and showing our own vulnerabilities, whether it's in our own personal life or with business stuff. So yeah, we're pretty lucky that the three of us are so close. Hopefully stays that way. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, how do you embed self-care into that process? So you're making sure that when you rock up each day, regardless of what hat you're wearing, that you're presenting the best self you can be in mind and body.
Yeah, it's a good question. We've been reflecting on that recently, and it's probably something that we're not spending enough time on is the self-care piece. It's really hard too, because running an organisation called Speak and Share, everyone thinks we have mastered like the mental health realm and, the power of vulnerability, and that we're always open to being vulnerable, but it's something that we have to work on in our own lives too. For me personally, like as I said before, moving my body is really crucial. So I'll make sure that before work, I'll either go to the gym or move my body or take my dog for a walk. And that puts me in a really good mindset. And then once I leave work, I'll either go to the gym on the way home or listen to a podcast or some music that I like to listen to before I go home to my partner, and make sure that I'm not in a grumpy mood when I get home from work. But it's just sort of an ongoing battle. We're always at schools too. So when we go to a school, we've got to be full of energy. So it's crucial that we're filling up our own cup sort of before we get to a school to, tell and educate 60 kids on how they have to speak and share in their own lives.
And that's like a performance every time you have to go and do that.
Yeah. It's awesome fun doing the programs. Pretty draining, but
Yeah.
and energy is the biggest one. When I was at school, I had a range of people that would come out and speak to my cohort that didn't have the energy that was probably required, and you zone off pretty quickly. So it's crucial that three of us and our facilitators go out to schools and we're full of energy and the kids actually want to listen to us because we're engaging, but it definitely drains your battery at the same time.
And do you use, or do any of you use, like meditation, like something to slow you down to also fill your cup?
Yeah, I've started journaling. Last couple of weeks, I've started
Yeah.
journaling, which has really helped. Podcast is a big one for me. I love listening to podcasts and people's stories similar to what we're doing today, and learn about what people have been through and how they've got through those things. But yeah, journaling's been a big one for me, which I've really enjoyed doing. I do struggle switching off. So meditation is something that I like to do, but I feel like when I meditate, my brain just goes a million miles an hour and I don't settle it down like it should. But yeah, journaling is one, and moving my body. Love moving my body and going for a walk or going for a run.
And tell me, what is it that you like about journaling?
I think it's just expressing your thoughts and, flicking back on the previous pages and previous weeks and see how far you've come and, how you've been feeling and why you've been feeling that way. It's different to talking to, like you're in your own little space with your book and your pen, your phone's not with you or your laptop's not with you, and you can sort of get down how you're honestly and really feeling. And I like handwriting too. My handwriting's not that neat, but I love just getting things down on a piece of paper.
It is a beautiful experience, isn't it, when you can actually see something and it kind of flows out of you onto paper and it's kind of there and it's no longer kind of being held in the actual body.
For sure, you just feel like you got the monkey coming off your back, and spend so much time on your laptop and on your phone and on social media and texting people. So it's nice to, put those aside and spend some time thinking on yourself and getting those thoughts down on a piece of paper.
And how long have you been journaling for?
Roughly about 6 months, so not too long.
But still, that's enough to actually look back and reflect. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely enough. I wish I did it earlier. I know my mum and my dad have sort of started writing their own like autobiography, which is something that I want to do because dad always said like when his dad passed away, his dad had amazing stories that he always used to tell, but dad has forgotten them. So I'd love to, my kids, when I pass eventually, which is hopefully a few years down the track, but they can pick up my book and see what I've gone through and how I got through those challenges.
Yeah, that's amazing. And as you mentioned, you all started off as sort of 2021 and probably single at that stage, I'm assuming. And now you've got partners. That's an evolution in itself. How has that evolved with Speak and Share?
Yeah, Nath had his girlfriend Maddie, which he still has now at that time. Mace was single, still is single. I was single and now have a partner and a house and a dog. So my life has definitely changed. Yeah, there's a bit going on. So I bought a house in January, which has been awesome with my partner Tegan. But yeah, it has been a challenge. Running your own business is incredibly taxing, and I struggle sort of switching off from the business and getting home and purely switching off and spending quality time with my partner. But it's an ongoing battle. But yeah, our maturity levels have definitely changed since we got off the plane to Darwin when we got home. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I'm sure that the Xbox doesn't get used any longer.
Nah, PlayStation. I don't even have one at my house anymore. No, I have a TV.
Wow.
Yeah, I used to spend a fair bit of time on the PlayStation, but don't have too much time for that anymore, which is probably a good thing.
I'm not going to comment, but yeah.
Yeah, they're no good, the PlayStations.
Now, you talk about everlasting change that you'd like to see within the community. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, for us, we just want people that speak and share moving forward into the future. So, hopefully we get to a stage in 20 years when speak and share doesn't exist and people just talk about their mental health and it's just a topic that is openly spoken about. But unfortunately, there's a lot of work that has to be done in the space. The suicide rates are through the roof and they're pretty alarming. And there's a lot of kids at school that are still struggling. So, yeah, creating the everlasting changes, the youth coming through now will hopefully have kids and they'll be vulnerable with their kids and get the conversation started before it is too late. And we just want to be, a preventative mental health organisation. So getting these conversations started when the kids are young and educating them on the strategies when you start feeling anxious, this is who you can talk to and this is how you can go about it, compared to being a reactive one when someone's suicidal and they feel like they can't live their life anymore. So just getting these conversations started. So, the youth starts talking about it, they'll grow up, continue talking about it, have their own kids, and push the speak and share messages on their own kids once they have kids.
And when we're thinking about the change that you're facilitating in those generations, have you started thinking about, or are you already measuring your metrics about who you're talking to, what the impact is?
Yeah. So through the social media stuff, we get analytics from all our posts, so we can see how many people have shared it, how many people have liked it, commented, or etc. And then through our programs, we have a program survey feedback form which participants will fill out. So that's got 8 to 9 questions on it. Sort of, how did you feel walking in? How did you feel walking out? Do you feel more comfortable speaking and sharing? Would you now be confident seeing a psychologist? And the feedback that we're getting from the programs has been awesome. So yeah, the work we're doing is working, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, Ben, have you done anything to prepare for your own death?
For my own death, that is a scary question. I don't like thinking about death. It sort of spooks me out thinking about your life ending. I haven't done anything to prepare for my own death. I'm still 25, so what's the average age now? Is it 80 something, 70 something?
Yes. But,
Hopefully, I still have 50 years left. But no,
yep.
I haven't done anything to prepare for my own death. I probably should. I don't have too much money in my own account, so there's not too much to be spread to my partners and my siblings. But yeah, it's probably something I need to look into.
Did you just say you had a mortgage and a dog?
I do, yeah. So the dog, I'd assume that my partner Tegan would take that. I might have to put that in writing, and then the house, she can obviously have the house, and then I don't have too much money left over in the account after that, so they can go to my brothers or my sisters. But yeah, it's probably something that I should look into.
And something that always surprises me since I've been following you has been your campaigns and social media. How do you use that? And obviously, that's been key in growing.
Yeah, I think we were pretty lucky. We started the Instagram platform during the COVID lockdown. So kids and most people in the community were spending a lot of time on their phones. So really capitalized on that and made some engaging and humorous content, which people enjoyed. And I think it's just the traction that you get from social media. Like, we have a lot of people around the country that are following us that like our message. And, we can tap into networks that we can't present to as of yet, and just creates an online community where people feel valued and a part of the journey, which is really cool.
But then there seems to be almost like a fever when your items of merchandise get released.
Yeah. So we like to use like a hype model, it's called. So what we usually do is, as I said before, a drop usually once a month. So we'll dedicate a hoodie to someone in their story, and then sell X amount of hoodies, which usually sell out. And then the start of this year, we created a core range because there were too many people that were frustrated with constantly missing out on the hoodies. So we created a core range, which is also now sold out, unfortunately, but it's coming back. We can jump on and grab a hoodie or a t-shirt or a hat and feel a part of the community. But yeah, it's something that we've struggled with, keeping up with the demand. When we started Speak and Share, we chipped in a bit of money each. I think it was like $2,000, and sort of, trying to grow that and flip it over and create more hoodies and diversify the range of the products. But yeah, keeping up with the hype and the demand for the products has been really hard, which has been really overwhelming, to be honest.
Yeah, you've created your own worst enemy to a degree.
Yeah, definitely. I know there's a few parents that we used to teach their kids that aren't too happy, especially in the first year and a half. They kept missing out on the hoodies, but we're trying to keep up with the demand.
But at the same time, from a marketing perspective, it's just brilliant.
Yeah, it's a good issue to have. I don't know how long the hype will keep going. Hopefully it goes for the next 20 years, but we'll have to wait and see.
And looking towards those next 20 years, tell me, what do you see?
Yeah, it's a tough question. We want to be one of the most impactful mental health preventative organisations in the country. So we want to see our programs nationwide. We want to have a diverse range of sort of program offerings. So we want to get into the primary space, which we're not yet working in. We want our community events to be nationwide and hopefully globally one day. We've had a lot of people in America that are following our message. So we just want everyone speaking and sharing and growing our message to as far and wide as we can.
And do you need financial support to make that happen? Like, what do you need in the next 2 years to start taking you where you want to go?
Yeah, financial support is obviously a huge thing. So it definitely capped us in the first 2-ish years, but now we've got a couple of philanthropic groups and large donors, which have been awesome and helped us, grow and spread our message. But for us to go to the next level, we need serious funding. We've caught up with a range of politicians who sort of promised the world, and we haven't really got any government funding as of yet. We've had one small grant, which I think was about 10 grand for a movement club we wanted to run. But yeah, for Speak and Share to get towards where we wanted to get, we need quite a serious amount of funding. So hopefully we get there, but we'll just have to wait and see.
So when you say serious amount of funding, what would that be for you?
Yeah, so for next year, I think our revenue will be I think it's just over 1 mil, so 1.1, and our expenditure through our programs. So we want to get to a stage where our programs are fully subsidised, so they're pretty much for free for schools and sporting clubs. And for that, we'd need roughly around 900K. So it's a lot of money, but yeah, working with philanthropic groups, I think we'll be able to get that sort of money into the system, so we can then go and run these programs for schools and sporting clubs that need it.
And have you been partnering with these existing organisations as well?
Yeah, we've done a fair bit. So I've done a lot with Headspace in Frankston, who have been a huge support. We've got a couple of mates that are up in Queensland that run their own sort of mental health organisation. So one's called the Good Human Factory. He's a pro ex-surfer, so Cooper Chapman, he's an awesome guy. And I've caught up with a range of others just to sort of pick their brains and see how they go about things, and especially in the school space, how they go about program bookings and facilitators and all that sort of stuff. I think there definitely needs to be more collaboration within the space. It's sad, but it feels like people are almost competing against each other, where it shouldn't be a competition. We're all sort of working towards the same goal of either lowering suicide statistics or getting people speaking and sharing. So it's definitely something that we have realised, is that it's almost like a competition in the mental health space, which is sad. And yeah, we're more than happy to collaborate with whoever. We just want more people talking about their mental health and looking after themselves.
Yeah. And tell me, do you have any further advice that you'd like to actually impart, share?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just checking with the people around you. So everyone's got the happy friend, the sad friend. There's a range of friends that I'm sure people have in their social group, or your kids or your parents. Just that constant check-in. People vary from day to day. Some people might have a great day and the next day they might not be feeling great. So just that constant check-in. And as I said before, honesty is the best policy. So if you notice that, one of your friends or your parents or your kids have been struggling, maybe just ask a question and be honest with them and show your vulnerabilities too, because a lot of people respect that.
And how can people donate to what you're doing, Ben?
Yeah, through the website. So www.speakandshare.com, there's a donate button, and then we can provide you with the DGR status receipt so you can claim it back on tax. And if you're not following our Instagram, jump onto the Instagram. It's speak_share. Post a lot of content through there and updates on programs and events too.
Yeah, and the stories are really quite moving. So thank you so much for what you and Mason and Nathan are doing.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me, Catherine.
Thanks, Ben.
Don't be caught dead forgetting to subscribe. And here are some more videos we know you'll love.